Hello there. This is Jerry Gibson with the Jerry Gibson Podcast coming to you from Studio 7 in San Luis Obispo, California. And today is Saturday, January 3rd, and what a day this is going to be. President Trump says what he means and means what he says. Because last night, Maduro was captured as he was going to bed along with his wife. I think he was trying to make it into his steel door, but sources tell me that even if he had made it behind that steel door, they would have gotten him out anyway. So he's on his way back to New York along with his wife. They will be tried for various charges, among them drug trafficking. And while that is going on, simultaneously, armed forces are still in Venezuela. And my understanding is Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, has already talked to the Vice President of Venezuela, who is cooperating with the United States in this transformation of power. So this is all interesting because there's so many side effects of what's going on today, which is to say China, which gets most of its oil from Venezuela, suddenly now is going to have to find it somewhere else. And Russia and Iran and Cuba all have now severed their relationships with Venezuela because Maduro is no longer there. So the implications are endless, and China being one of the biggest ones, in my opinion. But I do know this. There are Venezuelans throughout the United States. There's like 5 million that had left during the last 27 years under the Chavez and Maduro regime are celebrating. They're celebrating, and many of them may end up going back to Venezuela or maybe reuniting with their family. It kind of reminds me, this day reminds me of a conversation I had with this lady. I'm a salsa dancer. And I was dancing with this lady about 11 years ago, and she's from Venezuela. And she didn't speak a lot of English at that time. And she was talking to me about her country. I didn't know a lot about Venezuela. I did know about Maduro. I did know how oppressive he was. I did know they had a tremendous problem with inflation. And I also knew that they had more oil than anyone in the world. But she would describe to me what it was like to be in line for hours and hours in the hot sun, sweating, just trying to get some paper towels, toilet paper. The inflation was 200% at one point, she told me. She was one of the fortunate ones that got out of there. I don't know how many of her family members were lucky enough, fortunate enough to get out of there. But that's what she worried about. She worried about those family members that were left behind and the suffering, the oppression of his regime and how evil a person he was to their people. So it is an interesting day today, to say the least, because we are not in the business of regime building, but we are going to stay there, according to Marco Rubio, to help provide stability. And you think about it, that makes sense. In light of what happened with Afghanistan, how we got out of that country so quickly, and things flipped and changed so fast when we did so. So it's great that the vice president of Venezuela has got a relationship with Marco Rubio. Now, you know, Marco Rubio is Cuban and speaks Spanish fluently, and he knows the area. He knows that area extremely well, South America. So how are others acting? You know, it's predictable. It's really predictable how they're acting. If you dislike the Trump administration, obviously you're very upset with what's happened. But the reality is that Venezuela was a corrupt country, run by a drug dealer, run by somebody who did not serve the public well, and he's out of there. So let's wait and see what happens next. That's all I can say. We need to wait and see what happens next. And I wanted to share an idea that I have with you. There was a great writer in the 50s by the name of Rod Serling. He was a writer, and then he also was a contributor and writer to a very popular show in the 50s called Twilight Zone. Many of you may still remember Twilight Zone. I think it's still on cable, if I'm not mistaken. But there was an episode that was titled The Monsters on Maple Street. And it reminds me of what's going on today. The Monsters on Maple Street was about a situation where people would turn on one another. Americans turning on one another. Neighbors turning on one another. And I think that's what's happened to us as a country today. We turn on one another, and it's not difficult for that to happen, especially today with social media and the misinformation that is out there for us to look at, and paranoia that comes with turning on one another. Watch that episode if you get a chance. Watch a clip of it. The end of it, I think, is still available for you to see on YouTube. But it resonates with what's going on today, how easy it is for us to just turn on one another. And I bring this up because simply I think China understands that better than anyone else. China is winning the psychological war. Their mission, I believe, is to divide and conquer. And think about one of the most incredible tools or weapons that's currently in play right now is TikTok. And TikTok is one of the great dividers. They're so smart, the Chinese, the way they implemented and got this weapon, this device into American mainstream. It's a form of entertainment. There's no denying it. And it's fun entertainment. And it's addicting. However, what is addicting can work against us. And it has worked against us in many, many ways. It's helped us fight among ourselves, helped us, distrust one another, and not be on the same board. Our country is an individualistic country. We're not identified as collective like many of the Southeast Asian countries are collectivism countries. We are not. We are individualistic. So it's easy to divide us. It's harder to unite us. I feel like this should be a uniting point right now where we've helped a country regain its dignity in Venezuela. And I truly, truly believe that we are there for the purpose of helping the Venezuelans get back their dignity, get back their pride, get back their country, get back their oil, get back the decency they had there before 27 years ago when it was taken away from them. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to help our country, Venezuela, to partner up with them, make them a strong ally for the United States, and how we can benefit each other moving forward. Anyway, it's been great being here with you on this Saturday. It's a historic day today. And if you like this channel, please subscribe and tell a friend. I am really excited to hear what you have to think as well. All opinions are welcome, and I'll read them all. But I wanted to just say to you, I hope to see you again. This is going to be a weekly podcast where we talk about things like politics and sports and lifestyles and current events. And boy, what bigger current event there is than this one today. You have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.